Well, hello, and welcome back to Read Becca. It's time for the mid-year book freakout tag. Everybody freaking out? I am not. I'm fine with the year, other than that it is passing too quickly, as always. But otherwise, it's been a very, very good reading year for me. I would say both in terms of volume and quality. It's been very, very good. And so there was a lot to reflect back on thinking about this tag, and a lot to look forward to. And this is such a great tag that encapsulates some questions that really help us with that. So I use the most common set of questions, though everyone has their own version pretty much. And I've removed a couple that I was just didn't care about. So let's dive in to the tag and reflecting on reading from this year and what we want for the second half of the year. So question 1 is the best book you've read so far. So this was really hard because I have read so many good books, but kind of the standout, and this will probably surprise no one, is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. This is sort of a genre blender of sci-fi and fantasy. It's got some interesting perspective aspects, and this won a load of awards. And somehow I had not read it before now, and I finally got to it and absolutely loved it. But really, I would say what this has up on other books that were very, very, very good in my reading this year is that this really is engaging the reader through the writing style and framing of the narrative. That craft perspective is just at a level and a higher notch than a lot of other books that I read, though I read so many good books. Question number 2 is the best sequel you've read so far. And I couldn't pick one, honestly. I've read a couple of really, really good sequels. And so I'm picking the third book of the Area X Quartet, Acceptance, and the second book of the Anna and Din series by Robert Jackson Bennett. So we've got both are kind of mystery to some degree. Acceptance is a sci-fi, weird, biopunk kind of thing. And also some kind of horror-y elements to it. But yeah, it's a genre blender as well that has such great characters, such great storytelling, and such incomprehensible plot. Yet I love it. This is the first that is multi-POV, and I think that made it richer than the previous 2 books. I just adored. And then Anna and Din mysteries are fantasy mysteries in a kind of big high fantasy world. And again, the characters are really what brings this to life for me, but it's also so great because of that genre blending aspect and the world building being truly weird and imaginative. So some very similar themes there in what I liked. Number 3, new release you haven't read yet but want to. So all of them? No, there are so many, but I think the one that keeps popping up for me is The Incandescent by Emily Tesh. I've had a hold on this from the library, and Libby keeps bothering me now for the past several weeks, and I push it back a week every time. So I'm really, really anticipating getting to it soon, but I just haven't had the time yet. And I've really loved a lot of Emily Tesh's past work, so no surprise there. Number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Again, so many things that I really want to get to that I probably will not get to when I want to. But we've got 3 horror books coming out that I'm looking forward to by Chuck Tingle, Sarah Gailey, and Hiron Ennis. All authors I've read from in the past and really enjoyed. Josiah Bancroft's new book, the second in the Hexologists, which is fantasy mystery genre blend. That's coming out. We've got R.F. Kuang and Alex Harrow, both authors I love, with books coming out later this year. So lots that I am looking forward to. And number 5 is biggest disappointment. So this was a tough one because I haven't had a lot of really big disappointments. I would say the thing I was most disappointed about is from an author who I have read and loved before, and that was Jenny Lawson's debut work, nonfiction collection of essays, Let's Pretend This Never Happened. And I really didn't like it, and I DNF'd it. And it was a book I owned, so that was a big bummer. I've read and loved previous works from Jenny Lawson, and this just did not hit with me at all. The biggest surprise, I would say, was probably Millicent Quibb's School for Young Ladies of Mad Science. It's a long title. I was surprised by it because it's written by Kate McKinnon, the comedian actress. And you see that crossover from someone who is already a celebrity and now is writing a book. And I know Kate McKinnon is very funny, but right out of the gate, to have something that was this funny and just well composed and with real heart in terms of the characters, like, that was such a good fit that I really, really loved it. Favorite new author, debut or new to you? And this is an author who has been on my shelves for a long time and I should have read by now, but I hadn't. It was Jo Walton of Tooth and Claw. So I have multiple other Walton works, and I have seen Jo Walton's name around all over the place. Walton has done lots of work surrounding the Hugos, a major sci-fi and fantasy award, and is very involved in fandom as well. And it's just kind of generally a wonderful nerdy presence around the sci-fi and fantasy community, and yet I had never read any of the books. And diving into this one, it was so charming, and it does sort of live up to the Pride and Prejudice with Dragons blurb that it gets. I love how inspired by Anthony Trollope's work this was. It just delighted me wholeheartedly, and I really need to get to some more of Walton's work now. My newest fictional crush was, as always, a question that everyone likes to avoid, but I'll go with it anyway. I would say probably Alvar Stoke from Frederica by Georgette Heyer. It was also my first Georgette Heyer, so another kind of favorite new to me author. I found Alvar Stoke so funny because he is really, like, has a very personal sense of style that's unusual, and he doesn't fit into the normal social mold, and yet is still, like, really well regarded where he is. And part of that is him being a wealthy man, obviously, but, like, he's so curmudgeonly and yet with a heart of gold. And that's what I love about his character, I think. And my newest favorite character is probably Gilda from Emily Austen's book, Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead, which is just a contemporary fiction. So there's nothing unusual about Gilda. She is just very anxious, and she is such a quirky character to be in the head of. She's so entertaining and hilarious while going through something really emotional and heartfelt and difficult for her. Like, she's very relatable, I think. Hilarious and relatable. Number 10, a book that made you cry, is, I'm going with a reread, Cry the Beloved Country by Ellen Patton. This one probably made me cry before, I'm not sure, but it certainly was very emotional, very hard-hitting. And this is a modern classic for a reason, telling the story of these two fathers who are connected by their sons, one black, one white, and the different lived experiences that they have, and them seeing and connecting with each other in a way that's unusual in South Africa of the time. But I think what hit me so emotionally about this book is how imminent it felt, how timely to the present it felt in so many ways. That was what really hit me hard this time reading it. It was really impactful. A book that made you happy, I have Mary Stewart's Thorny Hold, both because this was a really lovely buddy read with Dia of Novel Idea, but just everything about this was so gentle and charming. It has a really light, kind of barely there romance. It has kind of a light, barely there mystery, and everything else about it is really cozy and whimsical. It has a little hint of magic to it. Like, yeah, this is just a delight to read. Most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received. So I bought for myself, and you've already seen this in a recent haul, The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, and this is illustrated by Jemima Catlin. I love this. It's beautiful and shiny, heavily illustrated. It's a naked cloth bound, which I adore, and I'm just very, very pleased to have it on my shelves. It makes me happy. And then lastly, we have What Books Do You Need to Read by the End of the Year? Everyone always says, I don't need to read anything. I need to read all the books, all of them, every single one, but I won't. So we have to pare it down slightly. So paring it down to one book that I really am committed to reading because it was on my TBR last year. It's on my TBR for this year in authors that I'm constantly recommended, and that's China Miéville's Perdido Street Station. It's a big chonker, and so I really want to get to this for Big Book Summer. I just need to pick it up because I continue to not. started. And if I get started, I know I will finish it. I'm sure I will love it, in fact, because people constantly are recommending me the book or the author, but I don't. Bookish problems, really, is what this is. So I think that's it for the mid-year book freakout tag. As I said, I'm not freaking out. I think my looking forward aligns with my goals here. So a lot of what I mentioned in terms of releases that I'm wanting to read, things that are out or not yet out, were all authors I've read from and loved from. And one of my goals this year is backlist. Sequels is also one of my goals. Catching up series that I've started but not finished or kept up to current is, I think, also going to be a big priority for the latter half of this year. I also need to turn back to my shelves a little bit more because I completed my Read What You Own challenge goal at the beginning of the year and have meandered away to the library mostly since then, which is kind of my problem every year. I will block off some time to read from my own shelves, and then as soon as I let loose after that, I go entirely to the library, and I need to find the balance again. So I think that's how my second half of the year will be shaped to some degree, but who knows? I could go completely up in the air and change things around entirely. We will see. So if you have your own channel, I look forward to seeing your mid-year book freakout tag or whatever mid-year check-in type tag you want to do. It is always so fun, and I love seeing them. So this one does not require that you be tagged in any way. So feel free to go ahead and do this tag. Otherwise, if you don't have a channel of your own and you want to answer one or all of the questions, at least tell me what your favorite book of the year was this year so far. Because I love, love, love to hear people's answers to these questions. I love the checking in every so often is my favorite thing. So anyway, that is it for me today, and I thank you so very much for watching.